Would you believe me if I told you the Earth's crust, the foundation beneath every ocean and mountain, is breaking apart right now? And no, this isn't some doomsday theory or sci-fi fantasy. You don't need a telescope or billion-dollar lab to see it, just a seismic map from the Pacific Northwest. In 2025, scientists found that the seafloor off Vancouver Island is literally tearing itself to pieces. The once solid subduction zone of Cascadia is fracturing into smaller shards, a dying tectonic plate dissolving under pressure.
There's a big plate of the Earth called the Nazca Plate, and it's part of the Pacific Ocean. It's part of the Pacific Ocean floor. It's one of the most active plates on Earth. It moves very quickly.
So if the strongest part of our planet can collapse from within, what does that say about the rest of it?
We really need to be prepared for that eventuality, because it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
In September 2025, a research team from Columbia University made an announcement that shook the scientific community. Off the coast of Vancouver Island, deep beneath the cold waters of the Pacific, they discovered something unprecedented: a subduction zone that is literally breaking apart. Using high-resolution seismic imaging, scientists mapped the Cascadia subduction zone, where the Juan de Fuca and Explorer plates slowly sink beneath North America. But instead of moving as one massive slab as every geology textbook had taught, the data revealed that the plate itself is fracturing into smaller shards, each shifting in different directions. The discovery was published in Science Advances, describing it as the first real glimpse of a dying tectonic plate. For decades, geologists believed subduction zones were stable engines driving continental drift, the heartbeat of plate tectonics. But this new evidence suggests something far more unsettling. The Earth's crust isn't a single, steady shell. It's a patchwork, slowly tearing from within. If a structure this massive can begin to disintegrate, it forces a haunting question. What happens when the planet's own foundation starts to fail? Throughout Earth's 4.5 billion year history, the continents have never been still. They have wandered, collided, shattered, and reformed over and over again in a vast, ongoing cycle geologists call the supercontinent cycle. More than 300 million years ago, all land on Earth was once fused into a single colossal mass, Pangaea. Eventually, it broke apart, its fragments drifting across the planet to become the continents we know today. Yet the process is far from over. Even now, beneath our feet, the planet is quietly preparing for another act of creation, a slow, invisible choreography of destruction and rebirth. Each year, the continents shift by only a few centimeters, but over millions of years, those centimeters rewrite the face of the world. Some tectonic plates dive beneath others, vanishing into the mantle, while elsewhere, new crust rises from the deep as if the planet were rearranging itself in its sleep. One of the most striking examples is Zealandia, a nearly submerged continent surrounding modern-day New Zealand. In 2017, scientists confirmed that Zealandia possesses its own crust, composition, and boundaries, the hallmarks of a true continent, yet over 90% of it lies beneath the sea. Another lost land, Greater Adria, once the size of Greenland, now rests crushed beneath southern Europe. About 140 million years ago, it floated freely before sliding beneath the Eurasian plate. Today, its remnants are entombed within the Alps, Greece, and the Balkans, silent proof that even continents can disappear. Meanwhile, in Africa, enormous fractures stretch across Ethiopia and Kenya, the first scars of a future ocean. Geologists predict that within tens of millions of years, Africa will split in two, and a new sea will emerge between them. Taken together, these discoveries reveal an unsettling truth. Nothing on Earth is permanent. Continents are not static foundations, but living giants drifting, sinking, and being reborn through the planet's restless pulse. Where one crust crumbles, another begins to form. In that endless cycle of loss and renewal, Earth seems less like an inert sphere of rock and more like a living being, quietly remaking itself, 1 centimeter at a time. If today's continents are drifting apart and breaking down, then the opposite question inevitably arises: where did they begin? What forged the first fragments of solid land on this restless blue planet? A groundbreaking study from the University of Copenhagen has recently reshaped how scientists understand Earth's continental origins. Researchers discovered that the bedrock beneath Scandinavia, once thought to have formed 2.8 billion years ago, actually traces back to Greenland, with an age of nearly 3.75 billion years. In other words, Northern Europe's foundation was built from ancient material recycled from an even older world. This revelation suggests that continents did not emerge all at once, but grew slowly from seeds of primordial crust fragments left behind after Earth's chaotic infancy, over billions of years. These ancient cores were carried by tectonic plates, colliding, merging, and reforming into the massive landmasses we see today. Similar clues have been found across the globe in Australia, South Africa, and India. In Western Australia, scientists have identified zircon crystals more than 4.4 billion years old, revealing that both liquid water and early continental crust may have existed almost immediately after the planet's birth. In South Africa's Kapval Craton, one of the oldest and best preserved geological structures on Earth, the rocks still bear the original patterns of the planet's early crust, like a fossilized memory of Earth's youth. These discoveries raise a profound possibility. What if continents are not random patches of rock, but extensions of a single underlying blueprint, a geological design that Earth has replicated through time, perhaps from the moment the young planet began to cool? A kind of geological DNA was encoded within its molten depths, determining how stone, metal, and mineral would gather, fracture, and reform into continents again and again. Seen from that perspective, the breaking and rebuilding of the planet's crust is not chaos, but a kind of renewal, a planetary rebirth written into the very code of the Earth itself. Each time the old crust sinks back into the deep, a new one rises to take its place, as if the planet were quietly reincarnating from its own ashes, leaving behind the billion-year-old rocks. We arrive at a far more recent story, one that reveals how Earth reacts when humanity interferes too deeply with its natural order, the Dingo Fence of Australia. Built in the early 20th century, this massive barrier stretches over 5,600 kilometers, cutting almost entirely across the continent. Its original purpose seemed simple: to keep dingoes, Australia's wild dogs, away from livestock grazing lands in the east. At first glance, it looked like a success, but the ecological consequences were catastrophic. By excluding the top predator, humans unknowingly split Australia's wilderness into two opposing worlds. On the side with dingoes, the ecosystem remained stable. Kangaroo, rabbit, and rodent populations were kept in check, allowing vegetation to recover and soil to stay fertile. But on the side without dingoes, everything unraveled. Herbivore populations exploded, stripping grasslands bare. The soil eroded, water no longer soaked into the ground, and within decades, once thriving plains turned to dust. Scientists now call this the ecological inversion effect, a phenomenon where human attempts to control nature end up destroying its natural balance. And the dingo fence isn't Australia's only attempt at separating life from life. There's also the rabbit-proof fence, stretching over 3,000 kilometers, built to stop invasive European rabbits from devouring crops, a mission that failed spectacularly. The rabbits burrowed beneath, multiplied uncontrollably, and became one of the most devastating ecological plagues in history. Today, Australia is still dotted with strange boundaries: fences to shield turtle nests from predators, electrified barriers to steer crocodiles, and wildlife corridors that resemble borders between two worlds, humanity and nature. Yet the deeper question lingers: do these walls really protect us? Or do they make the planet more fragile by severing the links that hold life together? Because while Earth's geological crust fractures and reforms beneath our feet, its ecological crust, the thin layer of balance that sustains all living systems, is also breaking apart. And just like the continents that once drifted and reassembled, nature too will eventually reset itself, though perhaps not in a way humanity will survive to witness. At the southernmost edge of our planet lies a land so vast, so remote, it almost escapes imagination: Antarctica, a continent buried beneath ice several kilometers thick, concealing within it a world that humanity has barely begun to glimpse. For centuries, this frozen expanse has stood as both a symbol of mystery and a boundary of endurance, a place where science, myth, and the limits of human life converge. Few realize how tightly controlled this land truly is. Under the Antarctic Treaty of 1959, the entire continent was placed under international protection, reserved solely for peaceful research, while all forms of commercial exploitation, military activity, or settlement were strictly forbidden. Even those granted access must adhere to extraordinary regulations. Every piece of waste must be accounted for, every footprint monitored. The reason isn't only its brutal climate, where temperatures can plunge to 80-degree Celsius, but also its fragile ecosystem, one of the most delicate on Earth. A single spill of fuel or chemical can contaminate the environment for decades. Thus, despite being the 5th largest continent, Antarctica remains the least touched by human hands, a natural archive of the planet's deep history. Beneath its glacial surface lies an entire hidden world, sealed away by time, vast subglacial lakes, buried mountain ranges, and possibly even ancient microorganisms that have survived in isolation for millions of years. In 2013, scientists drilling into Lake Vostok, trapped under more than 4 kilometers of ice, discovered traces of microbial life, proof that even in total darkness and crushing pressure, life finds a way. That revelation reignited bold speculation if microscopic life can endure beneath the ice. Could other remnants or even structures be buried there too? Satellite imagery has fueled intrigue, revealing triangular formations rising from the snow shapes so geometric that some believe they might be man-made, or remnants of an ancient civilization. Mainstream science dismisses them as natural geological features, but others see them as echoes of Atlantis, or Agartha, preserved within the frozen vault of time. Yet beyond conspiracy and conjecture, Antarctica remains unlike any other place on Earth. It belongs to no nation, has no permanent population, no political borders, and no fixed time zone. Here, time itself seems to hesitate. The sun rises and stays for 6 months, then sets into half a year of unbroken darkness, and in that eternal night, the only motion left is the dance of the aurora australis curtains of violet and green light rippling across the sky like the breath of the planet itself. Perhaps that is why Antarctica continues to captivate and humble us, because beneath its silence, beneath that endless white horizon, may rest the untold story of Earth's forgotten past, waiting patiently for the ice to remember. When we look to the stars, we see endless worlds dry, frozen, and lifeless. But when we look beneath our own feet, we may find something far more extraordinary, another ocean, hidden deep within the Earth itself. For years, the idea of a 6th ocean sounded impossible, a poetic metaphor at best. Yet recent discoveries have revealed that it might be real. In diamonds mined from over 660 kilometers beneath the surface, scientists detected traces of a rare mineral called ringwoodite, a crystal that forms only under immense pressure. What astonished them wasn't just the mineral's existence, but what it contained: water locked within its structure, making up as much as 1.5% of its mass. That's equivalent to all the water in Earth's surface oceans combined. This finding reshaped how we see the planet's hydrological cycle. Water, it seems, doesn't merely cover the Earth, it permeates it. It moves not only through rivers and clouds, but through the very bones of the planet, absorbed into the lattice of deep mantle rock, stored for eons, and released again through volcanoes, hot springs, and tectonic fractures. If estimates are right, the total amount of subterranean water may be 3 times greater than all surface oceans combined. Meanwhile, in eastern Africa, scientists have been witnessing another kind of transformation. Along the Great Rift Valley of Ethiopia and Kenya, the land itself is splitting apart, a scar stretching hundreds of kilometers across the desert. Geologists believe this is the birth of a new ocean, one that will one day divide the African continent in 2, just as the Atlantic once tore Pangaea apart. Taken together, these discoveries reveal a profound truth. Earth is not static. It is a living system, inhaling and exhaling water, rock, and energy in a cycle that never ends. The oceans may seem eternal, but they too are travelers, sometimes rising to the surface, sometimes sinking back into the deep, carried by the heartbeat of the planet. And when we look beyond Earth, we find familiar patterns elsewhere, on Europa, Enceladus, and even Pluto, worlds of ice that hide liquid seas beneath their frozen shells. Perhaps these are not exceptions, but reflections, reminders that life thrives where water hides. So maybe, beneath our mountains and continents, Earth still holds a silent ocean, a buried pulse of creation, the unseen bloodstream of a planet forever renewing itself. An ocean we do not sail, but one that sustains us all. If the Earth's crust hides a secret ocean beneath our feet, then even the seas we think we know are still concealing mysteries beyond imagination. The deeper we venture, the clearer it becomes that the ocean is both a mirror of life and a vault for the planet's hidden power. In recent years, A wave of deep-sea discoveries has challenged everything we thought we understood. Off the coast of Oregon, scientists detected a massive underwater leak, a vent spewing warm, pressurized water from the Cascadia subduction zone, one of the most dangerous earthquake faults on Earth. This hidden pulse of fluid may sound harmless, but to geologists, it's a warning the planet is still breathing, and each breath could one day unleash a catastrophe far across the Atlantic. Divers stumbled upon something even stranger: lines of perfectly circular holes drilled into the seafloor, spaced with eerie precision as though made by machines. They stretch for hundreds of meters. No known natural process fully explains them. Some scientists suspect gas vents or animal activity. Others whisper of lost civilizations, buried beneath rising seas. In the Adriatic Sea, near Croatia, archaeologists uncovered a 7,000-year-old stone road hidden beneath the silt, once leading to a Neolithic settlement now drowned by time. It is proof that the ocean has swallowed more history than any archive ever could: entire cities, cultures, and the silent memories of humanity. Deeper still, life defies all logic. In the black, pressure-crushed depths dwell translucent jellyfish, ghostly octopuses, and fish with fangs like needles, luminous creatures that seem to belong to another world. And yet, these worlds exist right here. In the dark heart of our own, scientists estimate we have explored less than 5% of the global ocean. The rest, 95%, remains completely unknown. Even the sediment beneath the waves holds cosmic secrets. Within it, researchers have found plutonium and iron-60 remnants of supernovae that exploded millions of years ago, fragments of dead stars resting quietly on our ocean floor. The sea, it seems, is not only the memory of Earth, but the memory of the universe itself. But the ocean does not only remember, it warns. Modern instruments have confirmed the reality of rogue waves, monstrous walls of water over 30 meters high, appearing from nowhere, capable of swallowing ships whole within seconds. Once dismissed as sailor myths, they are now an accepted fact, proof of how little control humanity truly holds over the forces that shape our world. And so, the ocean remains Earth's final frontier: wild, unpredictable, alive. While we reach for the stars, perhaps the greatest mystery still lies beneath us, in those silent depths where the planet continues to move, breathe, and change. Because when we step back and see the whole, the drifting continents, the collapsing crust, the hidden oceans below, we begin to understand Earth has never been still. It is a living organism, pulsing with cycles of creation and destruction. And we fragile travelers upon its shifting skin are merely passing through, carried by a world that is still becoming.